It was the first heavy rain of the night when suddenly the wind stopped and everything seemed frozen then. A sobbing sound came from far away, like someone was dying after a deep wound. The road was muddy and sticky under the bike tires far away. A woman in a wet white saree laughed softly, but her laugh smelled like death. That laugh was so scary. If you hear it, you will lose your life, because behind that laugh was something that will destroy your dreams. It will never let you rest, and every drop of rain will show you her black magic eyes again and again. Now ask yourself, can you walk alone on an empty road so late at night? Because this story will show you the night when a witch trapped her prey in the rain and escaping was impossible. Welcome to a true horror story. The Rain Witch. It was 3 in the night. Rain was falling very hard. Thunder and lightning were shaking the sky. A boy was riding his bike on an empty road trying to go home. The road was full of mud and the darkness was so deep he could not see the sides of the road. Suddenly, a woman appeared in front of his bike. She was wearing a white saree all wet. Her hair was covering her face and her eyes looked like burning fire. The boy got scared. He stopped his bike, but the woman did not move. He asked her, "Where do you want to go?" But she said nothing. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Then suddenly her body started rising from the ground and she floated 3 feet up in the air and stopped right in front of his face. The boy froze in fear. He tried to scream, but no sound came out. His heart was pounding fast. The woman slowly tilted her head and her eyes locked onto his, like she was staring into his soul. Suddenly her mouth opened, wide, unnaturally wide, as if her jaw was breaking apart, and from inside came a whisper like the sound of the wind through dry leaves, saying, "You saw me, now you are mine." The boy kicked the bike in panic and tried to ride away, but the engine did not start. He looked back and saw the woman now standing just inches behind him. Without making a single sound, rain kept falling harder, and her white saree now looked red as if soaked in blood. She raised her hand and pointed towards the forest on the side of the road. Suddenly, the bike roared to life on its own and moved ahead. The boy had no control over it. The bike took a turn and entered the forest path. The trees were tall and crooked, their branches hanging low like claws trying to grab him. The woman was gone from behind, but her laughter echoed from all directions. It felt like the trees themselves were laughing. Deep inside the forest, the boy saw an old broken house. It was hidden behind thick vines and fog. The bike stopped on its own right in front of the gate. The gate slowly opened by itself, as if waiting for him. He felt his legs moving without his will, walking toward the door that creaked open on its own inside the house. It smelled like wet earth and something rotten. There was a mirror in the hallway covered with black cloth. The boy walked towards it. His hand moved to remove the cloth without him controlling it. As soon as he uncovered it, he saw the reflection, not of himself, but of the same woman standing behind him. She was smiling, her eyes bleeding, her fingers long and sharp. He turned around quickly, but there was no one there. He ran upstairs and entered a room where candles were already lit. In a circle in the middle was a cradle, slowly swinging back and forth, a baby crying inside. He went close and saw the baby had no face, just smooth skin and hollow holes. The cradle stopped moving and the crying turned into loud shrieking, as if 100 voices were screaming in pain. The room started shaking. Walls cracked, shadows crawled from the corners, whispering his name again and again. The woman appeared in the mirror again, this time closer, and her face started changing, turning into his own face, but with dead eyes and a wide open mouth. She said, "You brought the curse, you woke me. Now you will take my place." Suddenly, everything went dark. No sound, no light, only the sound of water dripping. Then the boy opened his eyes and found himself sitting on the same road under heavy rain, but everything was silent. His bike was gone. The forest was gone. He looked down at his hands. They were pale and cold like a dead body, and in the puddle below, he saw his reflection smiling back at him with the witch's eyes, and a voice inside his head whispered, "Welcome home." He stood up slowly, confused and trembling. He looked around. The empty road was silent. No sign of life, only the endless rain falling like it would never stop. He tried to scream for help, but his voice was missing, as if the rain was swallowing all sound. He walked aimlessly, trying to find the way back, but the road behind him had vanished, replaced by thick fog. The fog was alive. It moved like a snake, twisting and circling. Around him, voices came from within, calling him in different tones. Some were familiar, some were crying, some were laughing. One voice sounded like his mother begging him to come home. But when he followed it, he saw a shadow with no face standing in the middle of the road. The shadow pointed towards a small temple hidden under a giant tree. The boy walked towards it. Without understanding why, as he entered, he saw the walls covered in red, handprints and symbols drawn with something dark and sticky in the center. A broken idol with hollow eyes stared at him, and behind it a figure moved, slowly dragging something heavy. The figure was the woman again, but her face was now covered in ash, and her mouth was sewn shut. She held a chain, and at the end of it was a man crawling on all fours with black eyes and twisted limbs. The man looked at the boy and whispered, "Leave before she chooses. She chooses those who break the silence of her reign." The boy turned and ran out of the temple, but the forest had changed. The trees were now made of bones, and their leaves were like dead skin hanging in the air. The ground below cracked with each step he took, and blood seeped from the soil. He tripped and fell into a pit that opened, suddenly swallowing him into complete darkness. Inside the pit, he found himself in a tunnel, water dripping from the ceiling and strange insects crawling on the walls. There were drawings of people being hunted by a shadowy woman, all leading to a single phrase written again and again: "Do not look into her eyes." He realized too late he already had. He crawled through the tunnel and reached a room lit by a single lantern. In the corner was a group of people, all sitting silently with their eyes closed, their mouths sewn shut, their hands holding letters that read, "We spoke in the rain, and now we stay forever." One of them opened his eyes and looked at the boy with sadness and fear, and then looked away. The lantern blew out and the room vanished. He was now back on the road, but it was morning and people were walking around. He screamed and ran to a group of them asking for help, but no one looked at him. No one heard him. No one saw him. He stood in the middle of the crowd, but he was invisible, like a ghost trapped in a world that moved on without him. He saw his own body lying on the road, cold and lifeless, his bike broken in pieces. People gathered around it, taking pictures and talking. Someone said he died in the rain last night, hit a tree while trying to avoid a woman in white. Another said the road is cursed since years. The witch chooses one soul every stormy night. As he watched his own dead body, he felt a hand on his shoulder, cold and heavy. He turned and saw the woman standing behind him, her face calm and empty. She pointed at the sky, where dark clouds were gathering again, and whispered, "Your turn is over now. Watch until the next one comes." And he faded into the fog, becoming part of her curse forever. Time passed in silence. He was no longer alive, but not fully dead either, stuck in a world between shadows and rain. He wandered the same road again and again, watching the same storm repeat. Every time it rained, he could feel her waking up, her whispers crawling into his mind like insects. He tried to close his eyes, but the memories never left. One night, as the storm began again, he saw a girl on a cycle riding fast, trying to escape the rain. She looked scared, looking behind again and again as if something was chasing her. The boy tried to warn her, tried to scream, but no sound came. Only the wind carried his pain. He watched helplessly as she entered the same forest path he once took. The trees welcomed her like old friends. The branches moved aside to let her in, and then closed behind her. The boy followed, floating in the air, unseen, unheard. The girl reached the old house just like he did and stood frozen at the gate. The same gate that opened by itself, the same smell of death and wet earth calling her in. Inside the house, the girl stepped on a floorboard that creaked and the sound echoed. Too long, too deep, she heard laughter, but it came from under the floor. She turned to run, but the door slammed shut. The windows turned black and the candles lit. By themselves, one by one, shadows danced on the walls, like broken puppets. Upstairs, the cradle waited again, swinging slowly, the same faceless baby inside. Crying softly, the girl backed away, but the floor under her vanished and she fell through darkness, landing in the tunnel. The boy tried to reach her, but something pulled him back, invisible. Chains that burned his soul. He screamed inside, but only silence answered. The girl crawled through the tunnel, her hands bleeding, her breath fast. She saw the same drawings, saw the same warning. Do not look into her eyes, but curiosity took over. She turned to the end of the tunnel and saw a figure waiting, a woman in white holding a mirror. The girl's face reflected in it, but her eyes were already hollow. The girl crawled through the tunnel, her hands bleeding, her breath fast. She saw the same drawings, saw the same warning. Do not look into her eyes, but curiosity took over. She turned to the end of the tunnel and saw a figure waiting, a woman in white holding a mirror. The girl's face reflected in it, but her eyes were already hollow. The boy watched from above, feeling his own memories pour into her mind. She was seeing everything. He saw, feeling everything. He felt the pain, the fear, the helplessness. It was happening again. The curse was repeating, the witch feeding on memories and fear, each victim adding to her power. She flew toward him like smoke, her hands turning into claws, trying to pull him back into the darkness, but the girl was now standing strong, holding the broken mirror. The pieces floated around her, spinning fast like blades. She whispered something in a language unknown, and the house began to fall apart. With a blinding flash, the forest caught fire. The screams of the trapped souls echoed into the sky. The curse was breaking, but not fully. The boy was pulled into the sky by a beam of light, while the witch burned below her face, turning to ash in the storm. The girl walked out of the forest alone, wet, tired, crying. But alive behind her in the fog, one last whisper remained. "I will return with the rain." The rain finally stopped, but the sky remained dark and heavy. The wind whispered through the empty trees. The girl stood at the edge of the forest, soaked to the bone, her breath visible in the cold air. She looked back one last time. The shadows seemed to bow and disappear slowly. The forest grew silent, as if holding its breath. Her eyes held a new strength, but deep inside she knew the curse was never truly gone. The witch's voice echoed faintly, carried by the wind. "I will return with the rain," and as the first drop fell from the gray sky, the girl tightened her grip on the broken mirror and whispered, "Not today." The screen fades to black, leaving a chilling silence, broken only by distant thunder. The end. This story has now come to an end. If you enjoyed it and want to hear more thrilling and interesting horror stories, then don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my channel. Thank you for watching my video.